When most of us picture modern Iran, the images are usually the same: chanting crowds, the 1979 hostage crisis, and an unyielding, aggressive religious regime. For decades, the United States and Israel have employed almost every tool available to weaken or topple that regime. Yet, despite assassinations, military strikes, and crippling economic sanctions, it survives. We tend to view this survival as the result of religious fanaticism, but the exact shape of this regime comes from a much deeper source. To understand how it survives, we have to look at what broke the country in the past. For most of its history, Iran was an advanced civilizational superpower. It governed a massive swath of land stretching across what we now call the Middle East and Central Asia. The regime that rules Iran today was built as a direct response to the collapse of that power. It is a system structured specifically to break a two-century cycle of foreign intervention and national humiliation. The trouble started in the 1800s. Iran found itself geographically trapped between two rapidly expanding empires, Russia pushing down from the north and British influence pressing in from India to the east. Rather than immediately invading a massive mountainous country, both empires realized they could control Iran from the outside. They forced the Iranian monarchy to sign economic concessions, effectively carving the nation into spheres of influence and buying up monopolies, like the entire Iranian tobacco industry in 1890. The Iranian people reached a breaking point. They organized massive tobacco protests, and by 1905 launched a revolution demanding a constitution, parliament, and a limit on foreign control. The empires responded immediately. Russia sent 12,000 troops straight to the capital and opened fire on the newly formed parliament building, killing lawmakers to protect their strategic leverage. This established a brutal cycle. Every time the Iranian people organized to claim democracy and self-determination, a foreign power intervened with violence to protect their assets. Then, in the early 1900s, British prospectors struck oil. The discovery of these reserves brought an immense industrial footprint to Iranian soil. Almost overnight, Iran evolved from a convenient buffer state into the absolute lifeblood of the British global naval fleet. That wealth extraction came at a catastrophic cost. When World War I broke out, Iran remained neutral, but the fighting spilled across its borders anyway. 2 million Iranians died from starvation and disease while foreign powers fought over the oil fields. When World War II arrived, the Allies pulled the exact same maneuver. They invaded neutral Iran, deposed the modernizing Reza Shah, and installed his young, compliant son to guarantee the supply lines stayed open. For 50 years, the country was treated as a heavily guarded global gas station, while the Iranian people paid the price in blood and sovereignty. By 1951, a political leader named Mohammad Mosaddegh emerged as the democratic hope of the nation. He rallied the public with a clear promise to finally take the country back. Mosaddegh moved to fully nationalize the oil industry. He rejected British control, refused their profit-sharing limits, and asserted that Iran's most valuable resource belonged to Iranians. Britain and the United States retaliated. The CIA and British intelligence orchestrated a secret multi-million-dollar campaign to destabilize the country, bribing politicians, paying off the military, and staging a coup in the streets of Tehran. Mosaddegh was arrested for treason. In his place, Western intelligence reinstalled their preferred monarch, Mohammad Reza Shah, granting him absolute power. The Shah used that power to rule with an iron fist. He funded outrageously lavish parties with oil money, while relying on a CIA-trained secret police force to torture and silence dissidents. 1953 left a permanent scar on the national psyche. It proved to millions of Iranians that the West would never allow them to achieve independence peacefully or democratically. Into that resentment stepped Ayatollah Khomeini. From exile, he weaponized 150 years of anti-imperialist rage, broadcasting his message on smuggled cassette tapes. Khomeini framed the geopolitical struggle through a strict Shia Islamic lens. He preached a message of divine justice, calling on the oppressed to rise up against a corrupt, foreign-backed oppressor. By 1979, the population erupted. Millions of citizens from all walks of life, students, shopkeepers, and religious clerics, united in the streets to overthrow the Shah. The Shah fled, Westerners were expelled, and Khomeini dissolved the monarchy completely, replacing it with a system of his own design. The 1979 revolution was a desperate, violent reaction. The Iranian people severed ties with the outside world to stop a century of exploitation. The system Khomeini built remains largely intact today, and it was constructed with a series of internal fail-safes meant to ensure foreign intervention never happens again. At first glance, it looks like a democracy, but operates through strict religious filters. The supreme leader and appointed councils act as a firewall, controlling who is allowed to run for office or pass laws, blocking any movement that might align with the West. To protect this structure, they built parallel militaries. The regime funds proxy militias across the Middle East to project power and pursues a nuclear program as the ultimate deterrent against foreign invasion. But there is a tragic irony at the center of this story. In their desperate attempt to build a fortress against foreign control, the regime built a brutal cage for its own citizens. Western pressure struggles to topple the modern Iranian government because the system was structured specifically to absorb these exact pressures. This leaves the Iranian people caught between a regime that won't fall and an outside world that won't stop pushing.